Hello everyone, and welcome to the annual general meeting of Baltic Horizon Fund here in Stockholm. The way we would like to present the results and the fund's recent developments today is to start first with a general presentation, an overview of the macro of the Baltics, and a little bit about the management company, and therefore give you the general setting and the overview of the Baltic economies, and that would be the first part of today's session. The second part will be the official general meeting part, which will follow the agenda that was published on Nasdaq Stock Exchange. So, for the first part, general presentation, could I invite here Martin MALHOTRA from Catella to say a few words about Baltic economies and how the Swedish market and community sees the Baltics. So please continue with the slides.
Thank you very much, TARMO. My name is Martin MALHOTRA and I will speak in Swedish. Jag jobbar på Catella, en fastighetsrådgivare i Sverige, Norden och i Europa. Och vi finns runt Östersjön. Och vi hjälper Baltic Horizon här att resa kapital och har varit med dem sedan starten egentligen förra sommaren. Vi är ett bolag som har både fastigheter och kapitalmarknaden i vårt DNA. Och vi har varit med och skapat väldigt många bolag under årens lopp. Och vi är väldigt nöjda med att kunna stå här och presentera en så pass investerarvänlig struktur som Baltic Horizon faktiskt är. Men innan vi tittar mer på Baltic Horizon och får träffa och höra mer från ledningen, så ska jag säga några ord om tajmingen och varför Baltikum är intressant just nu. Här ser vi egentligen en bild som visar tre saker. Och den första komponenten här är attraktivt prissatta fastigheter. Det tillsammans med att de här länderna nu är euroländer och har euroräntor, och att det är en väldigt attraktiv prissättning på skuldkapital skapar en fin direktavkastning och en fin utdelningsförmåga på de här tillgångarna. Men det är den ena biten. Den andra biten är att det här är länder som strukturellt förväntas växa snabbare än övriga Norden. De ska växa i kapp, och här finns det åtminstone 100 baspunkter till att hämta. Och det gör att om man köper väldigt fina fastigheter i bra lägen i huvudstäderna, då får man en exponering mot den här utvecklingen i form utav då ökande hyror. Och det ger ytterligare en väldigt fin komponent i totalavkastningen. Så att det här är faktiskt ett case som kombinerar både en väldigt fin direktavkastning och en utdelningsförmåga med en fin också totalavkastning där värdetillväxten är betydande. Tittar vi historiskt så ser vi hur de här baltiska länderna har vuxit snabbast i Europa. Tillsammans med några andra östländer så har de varit absolut starkast. Och det här är en väldigt fin utveckling som kommer att fortsätta när de här länderna växer i kapp. Men det är också så, om vi tittar lite djupare, att det har ju varit både upp och ner i Baltikum. Man har gått igenom en djup finanskris och man har rest sig upp. Och det här ska man ha med sig. Det man också kan säga om det här är att de här länderna reste sig av egen kraft. Man gjorde en devalvering till fast växelkurs. Man behöll sin peg mot euron och man är idag euroländer. Man är integrerad i Europa och man har likt Island egentligen väldigt snabbt kommit på fötter, vilket är ett tecken på hur dynamiska de här länderna är. Och det är oerhört starkt och imponerande att kunna se. Och vi ser hur den utvecklingen nu har fortsatt och man har en väldigt uthållig och god tillväxt. Vi kan också se hur om man tittar på EMU-kriterierna här, att de här länderna har låg skuldsättning. Och det kan man också se om man tittar ner i den reala ekonomin också, och framförallt i fastighetsmarknaden. Där är det idag fokus på kassaflöde och låg skuldsättning. Tittar vi på specifikt då fastighetsmarknaden, där vi ser att det har varit en fastighetsutveckling före finanskrisen som var som hade tecken då på en överhettad marknad, och där det var så att man köpte hus, investerarna kom in, köpte hus, ägde ett år och sålde med stor vinst. Där kan man se, om man tittar på fundamenta här, att där var faktiskt räntekostnaden i paritet med ungefär vad fastigheterna också avkastade. Och mycket av den totalavkastning som man fick till under de åren var ju att man gjorde en vinst när man sålde. En väldigt spekulativ marknad. Tittar vi hur det ser ut idag och hur det sett ut de senaste åren, då är det fokus på kassaflöde. Här finns det ett yieldgap mellan fastigheterna och den skuld som man ser, som är väldigt attraktiv. Och det är helt andra hävstångar idag som används. Så att idag är det mer fokus på kassaflöde och fundamenta. Och det man ser som kanske svensk investerare i de här länderna, det är en exponering också mot den här tillväxten som kommer att komma och som finns där och som förväntas fortsätta nu när de här länderna växer i kapp. Så det är en helt annan marknad idag än vad det var för 10 år sedan i Baltikum. Och det kan vi också se när vi tittar på fastighetsmarknaden med våra ögon från Catella. Då. Vi har ju kontor runt om Östersjön och även i de baltiska ekonomierna. Och här ser vi en mycket mer sund prissättning. Både när man tittar på hyror och multiplar och priser per kvadratmeter. Så att det här visar också tydligt styrker den här bilden av en mer långsiktig marknad. Där man har fokus på kassaflöde. Vilket vi tycker är väldigt sunt. Så att det här är, tycker vi då, någonstans det här caset i ett nötskal, att man både får starka utdelningar som kommer nu kvartalsvis, som Baltic Horizon faktiskt har levererat nu sen starten sommaren 2016. Men också att vi kommer att förhoppningsvis se, tror Catella i alla fall, en god värdeutveckling i form av ökande hyror på de här fastigheterna. Vi har också en fråga som många tar upp här i Baltikum, det är ju demografin. Det är många som har lämnat Baltikum under finanskrisen som jobbar utomlands, och frågan är vad som kommer hända. Man har tappat befolkning, och befolkning är alltid en viktig faktor för en fastighetsinvesterare. Här hanterar, tycker vi, Baltic Horizon på ett bra sätt genom att fokusera på just huvudstäderna. Där finns det befolkningstillväxt, och det är ytterligare, tycker vi, någonting som gör att det här caset är väldigt starkt. Och att man liksom fokuserar på kvalitet och är väldigt långsiktig. Och det gäller ju faktiskt även det här casets finansiella liksom hävstång, som är faktiskt med svenska ögon liksom ett låg 50% i Sverige, får man ändå säga, är relativt konservativt för en fastighetsinvesterare. Och jag skulle säga, om man hoppar tillbaka här till början här då. Vad är det egentligen som en svensk investerare får när man kommer till Baltikum och köper nybyggda hus i huvudstäderna i bästa läge? Ja, typiskt sett så sitter det en svensk hyresgäst där, eller en nordisk hyresgäst, och det är nordisk risk om man tittar på själva hyresgästen. Husen är faktiskt ofta byggda av ett svenskt eller ett nordiskt och kanske i vissa fall ett tyskt byggbolag. Så det är, man kan säga, i princip då svenska hus då också som man köper, och rent strukturellt. Och vem är det som man får sin bankskuld då från om man är fastighetsinvesterare? Ja, det är då svenska och andra liksom nordiska banker som huvudsakligen är aktiva i Baltikum. Så att den här risken som man köper är väldigt nordisk faktiskt. Men prissättningen, den är ju faktiskt en annan. Och här har vi ett gap på 200 punkter mot i Sverige om man köper en fastighet. Dessutom har man en exponering mot de baltiska ekonomierna som förväntas växa upp 100 punkter åtminstone, kanske mer än övriga grannländer här i Norden. Vilket då ger att vi också ser från Catellas sida en väldigt fin totalavkastning. But that, I think, summarizes the macro story that Catella sees in the Baltics for investors. And now I think would be interesting to hear more about the vehicle and also the background of the management team. So I welcome Algis up to the stage here.
Thank you, Martin. My name is Algis VAITIEKUNAS, and I'm on the management board of of Baltic Horizon's fund, basically as one of the representatives of the management company. And what I'd like to briefly talk about is the management company itself, Northern Horizon, and what it does generally around the Baltic Sea region. And then in particular, when we talk about Baltic Horizon, I'll get to that. We started our business in the Baltic states, in fact, back in 2001. And at that time is when commercial real estate in the Baltics was a new thing. It was something that was just starting to begin to become interesting to investors. So we commenced the investment vehicles into for Baltic City commercial real estate back in those days, and since then we've had many investments in buildings around the capital cities in various forms. They've been usually term-ended companies which maybe have an expiry date of 7 years or 10 years, and therefore we had to then exit them at some times. With Baltic Horizon, though, we decided to change things a little bit, and we had a termed fund which was called Baltic Opportunity Fund, and we decided to go with an IPO and list the fund and make it an evergreen fund so that it could grow large and could become a good investment vehicle for people to invest into Baltic capitals. Apart from investing into Baltics, Northern Horizon also invests around the other parts of the Baltic Sea region in Scandinavia and so forth, and have commercial real estate investment funds in, say, Germany and in Finland and in Denmark. We do quite a lot of work with healthcare funds around that region. But I've got to say, what's the main one of the main strategies of Northern Horizon is to invest into the Baltic countries as such, and that's what I want to focus on. We have the structure of Baltic Horizon itself is that we have a lot of investors coming into this real estate investment trust. Our governance is very much in line with a regular company. We have a team, a board, supervisory board sitting on the fund level, which looks at what the management company is doing in terms of how it relates to the Baltic Horizon. So as a fund manager, we've been in this region for quite some time. It's now getting on to 17 years, 16 years. We know the Baltic Sea region quite well. We know the buildings. We like to invest into good, solid, yielding properties, and that's what we generally do. I think what's probably a good idea then is to not talk too much more about the management company, but get into the actual fund itself. And I would like to then introduce TARMO KAROTAM to start talking about the fund itself, and also get into the annual general meeting.
Thank you very much, Alex. And thanks, Martin, for the introduction. I think that's always good to have. Now hereby I would like to continue with the official part of the general meeting, follow the agenda and the rules of the general meeting sessions. So hereby I would like to welcome here on the stage our good colleague REIMO HAMMERBERG, also the supervisory board member of the management company in Estonia that manages the fund. So REIMO, let's continue with the official part. And then when we make the introduction, I will go into the Q1 results and comparing the Q1 of the previous year's results.
Thank you, Tarmo. My name is REIMO HAMMERBERG. I am legal advisor for the fund management company and also supervisory board of the fund management company. But hereby, as Tarmo already said, we start with the official part of the annual meeting. And Tarmo KAROTAM was elected as a chairman of the meeting, and REIMO HAMMERBERG, myself, as a recording secretary for the meeting. So the agenda for the meeting is such as was disclosed in the stock exchange release. Namely, it is overview of the fund annual report and Q1 results, fund portfolio review, and information regarding the public offering. The meeting itself doesn't adopt any resolutions today. Therefore, those points which are going to be covered now by Tarmo KAROTAM are for information purposes only. And therefore also it is, the meeting doesn't have a quorum, but it is not really relevant as no resolutions are passed today. So with this, I would pass it over to Tarmo. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the official introduction. So hereby I would like to take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to discuss about of course, results of 2016 and results of Q1, but also more generally what has been happening with the fund since it got listed back in 2016, last year in June. So, as you can see from the financial figures, the fund has actually grown twofold in 1 year. And we are close to having 2.7, first quarter was 2.5 million euros in net rental income, but that did not include one last investment fully. That was closed at the end of March. So we are almost double the size and almost double the rental income that the portfolio generates today. Cash flow wise as well, the properties are doing very well as expected. So we've had a few presentations on Baltic Horizon over the past 12 months, and that actually the situation hasn't changed a lot, meaning that there is stability in the property market, there is stability in our properties. So we're happy to manage the portfolio as it is, and prolong the rental agreements with our tenants and agreements with financing partners. The gross asset value of the portfolio or the fund today is close to 170 million. The property portfolio value as of Q1 this year is 156 million, and it is also interesting to state that we are maybe now past the infancy of let's say Baltic Horizon, because the past 9 months was really about listing the fund in 2 stock exchanges, going through that process, which endured quite a bit of administrative effort and costs. We're not going to list the fund anymore anywhere else. I think Tallinn is a great location for Euro investors and also for the Baltic investors, whereas Stockholm provides a good alternative for investors to invest in SEK, and also it is very close to the Swedish market, where majority of our investors actually today come from. I think overall, in terms of leverage, we still have a conservative leverage strategy. We target 50% overall leverage level. At the end of last year, end of 2016, the LTV level was actually at 48%. And since we had not invested most of the equity by that time yet, but as of the end of Q1, we have invested majority of the equity that we raised in November, and I will get into those investments very soon. This is the portfolio as it stands today. We have the largest property in Vilnius, a large centrally located shopping center, Europa. And I would overall like to say that the portfolio today, if you value it by square meter, then the price per square meter based on our valuations is approximately 1,800 euros. So we think that we have a very strong base of now with this portfolio. We have acquired over the past 9 months 4 properties. So as I said before, we have almost grown twofold. And I think the most important thing about having grown is having also diversified the tenant base, diversified the geographical locations of our investments, and thus making actually the fund more stable. In 2016, there were 4 investments, 2 after the IPO in Tallinn, which raised approximately 20.5 million euros in June. And that was deployed into G4S property and Upmalas Biroi, 2 newly built properties, office properties, so with long-term leases. And we're happy to state that both of the properties are continuously fully let, well maintained and managed. As we continued into the fall, we decided that it is a good time, and September came, so the fund strategy is to pay regular dividends, even in the growth phase, since new equity which is brought into the fund is used for investments, whereas all the operating income, all the operating cash flow from the properties is being paid out to the investors on a regular basis. That's the strategy of the fund. We are very REIT-like fund. Real estate investment trusts, as a global definition, pays out at least 80% of the revenues generated from operations, and that's exactly what we would like to do as well. And we have done so since September last year. So as of today, we have declared 3 cash distributions. I think the payout of the 3rd one will take place tomorrow. Yesterday was the ex-dividend date. And but yeah, coming back to this slide, with November capital raising, we raised 19.5 million, and that was invested into Pirita shopping center, a neighborhood shopping center in Tallinn, and centrally located in historic Pirita area, which is let's say one of the oldest beach sort of areas within Tallinn city. And last but not least, we signed actually an agreement already, preliminary agreement in December to acquire Duetto office building in Vilnius. That property was finished in March. It was then leased out. The tenants moved in, and shortly after, all the building permits were put in place. The building was constructed. We closed the deal. We do actually have some equity left from the November offering, and that is being deployed actually into the expansion of Domus Pro third stage, which is also an office building expansion of a large shopping complex in Vilnius, in a let's say densely populated neighborhood in Vilnius, and that property is fully underway. It's more than half already constructed, 52% leased out, pre-leased out, and it will be opening its doors no later than December this year. So I think Martin maybe slightly talked about this already, but what are we all about? You know, we're all about long-term sustainable dividends from commercial real estate investments in Baltic capital cities. We leverage our portfolios conservatively at 50%. That's where we get the best terms with the banks, including non-amortizing loans. And we have a dividend target, cash payout target about 7 to 9% per annum, and we pay that distribution on a quarterly basis. Overall, we would like to, and we aim to deliver investors 12 to 15% per annum. And for example, if you look at the past 3 quarters, then overall we paid out 7.3 cents, euro cents per unit, which based on the issue price back in June, when the fund got listed first in Tallinn Stock Exchange, is roughly 5.6% cash on cash. And that is regardless of the listing costs that we have endured in the past 9 months. Few more words about the portfolio, because this is what is the heart of the investment case. It's about the properties, and on average, as I said before, on average the pricing of the properties today is about 1,800 euros per square meter. The average rent is 11.7 euros per square meter per month, and that has been gradually increasing through indexation over the years. The first property that we ever bought was Lincona office building. That was in 2011, and the most recent one, the Duetto property. So overall, over the years that we've actually held these properties, the occupancy of the properties have been very good. And since they are leased out on a long-term basis to international tenants that operate as well in the Baltics on a long-term basis. In regards to the lease agreements, we also aim to sign them in our properties so that they all don't end in 1 year, that are well diversified across the years. And we already proactively manage also negotiations of lease agreements years ahead. So we have an active dialogue with our tenants, and I think this is the only way how to operate a long-term real estate fund. All of our properties are bought into specific SPVs. The loans are taken to those specific SPVs, and then the fund as a mother entity is the vehicle that consolidates the SPVs and also pays out distributions to the investors. Maybe a few words still about the sensitivity and stress test. How do we see the portfolio generating through different cycles? And with conservative leverage, we believe that we have a strong platform to continue with this fund many years and many decades even. That doesn't mean, of course, that we will hold all properties forever. We do have specific entry and exit strategies for each property. So it's a dynamic process for the management. But overall, if we aim to index our rents 2% per annum and have a cost of debt around 2.5%, then we are well on target with our dividend payouts. Now, what's happening a little bit on the Baltic market still. A few words about the supply, for example, in the office segment in the Baltic states today. In Tallinn, the supply of new office buildings has been quite strong, especially within the recent year. That has strengthened definitely the competition between the different office building owners to offer quality premises to the tenants, and that has put some pressures on rental levels. Whereas in Vilnius, the development of new offices is also quite strong, but the take-up, the tenant interest there is on a different level. I think Vilnius has been very successful in attracting the nearshoring tenants from the Nordic countries, in many cases. For example, DNB will have its 4th building now in Vilnius for back office and support services. So they've done a very good job, and the take-up is also very strong. So there we see today relatively stable still rental levels. In Riga, for that matter, the supply is much shorter. Much less new buildings have been built, and we see that now across our portfolio. And again, I think this is a test and also a good example of a diversification across the 3 cities, that they still followed a little bit different trends. So in Riga, with our office building, we feel very strongly about offering this office building for our current tenants to prolong their lease agreements at strong rental levels. So it's a dynamic process, but I think overall for us the strategy is still very much to build or to buy new cash flow properties. I think that eliminates many risks from the system already. In terms of retail, and these are the 2 segments that we continuously invest in, only offices and retail in the capital cities. In retail, we very much like neighborhood shopping centers such as Sky, such as Domus Pro, such as Pirita, because they cater to that micro location. They cater and offer the services and products to the neighborhood, which usually visits these places on foot. I would very much be afraid of I've been afraid of for many years large hypermarkets, for example, somewhere in the outskirts of the city, and these are the formats that are not sustainable for a long run. Of course, online trading is affecting the Baltics as it's affecting retail sales everywhere. That means that certain segments like electronics, are going out of shopping centers, whereas more and more gyms and sports clubs. We have 3 gyms actually in our portfolio in 3 properties. We also have a cinema, so it's more about social interaction, and it's definitely something that we see also in the Baltics, even though the pace is a bit slower. So these are the things that we keep in mind when we buy our properties, manage our properties, and sell our properties. And And I think that would conclude my presentation. I think that covered also the 3 points in the agenda. I think actually let me actually talk a few words about the offering. That was the last point on the agenda. So the slides were at the end there. Sorry about that. Yes, right here. We have made a new public offering to be able to acquire the properties that we have in our shortlisted pipeline, and the idea of the fund growing is also to grow sustainably. So we are offering new units now in 4 different markets, in Estonia, Finland, Sweden, and Denmark to retail investors, as well as institutional investors internationally. And the scalability of I think Baltic investments is something that we see a lot of value in terms of cost efficiency, but also risk diversification. And we continuously invest in office and retail. Now, if you ask what is the offer price, it is according to the fund rules the most recent NAV, which is 1.322 euros, and that is the end of April NAV, which is already calculated. The prospectus has been registered, listed on our webpage. Detailed information is there. So I welcome you to get acquainted with the offering details. And we have also set this time a minimum limit of 200 units as an investment to invite sort of really long-term investors into participating into this offering. So that concludes my presentation. I think that concludes also today's session. So thank you very much once again for joining in. Happy to be here in Stockholm, and please get acquainted with the details of the fund on our webpage and on the stock exchange pages. Thank you very much.